Welcome back to Hot Rod Guy Garage. This can be another episode on the 66 Mustang, so follow me along through the intro, and I'll be back. And alright guys, another week, some more progress on the 66 Coupe project. So, I'm going to be jumping around a little bit on this project from front to back, between front suspension and rear suspension stuff, because I'm having to order parts for both, and I'm working on stuff as I get it. So one thing I need to address on this car is this previous repair on the driver's side rear quarter panel. So let me flip around and I'll show it to you. And I'll show you how we're going to fix it or go about it. It remembers we had a seamed quarter panel where it had a previous repair sometime probably in the 70s to 80s. And the reason why I date it there is because it's just the quality of the work. Nothing wrong with doing it that way back in the day. But nowadays, it's not so good of a thing to do. So I'd come in here in the background, and I'd remove the trunk drop, just where I could better access what this panel actually looked like and the condition of it. We knew we had some rust holes up here up high, and we knew we had this bad seam job here. So a lot of you may not know, but back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, you see that gold right there. This quarter isn't welded on, it is brazed on, and that is a brass or a bronze welding rod. What they done, they spot welded on there with the brazing rod. Technically, or not technically spot welded, but it's brazed on. And in other areas, you just don't have nothing at all, and they come in here and just, they just fill this area full of Bondo. But to put a quarter panel in this car, we're going to have to get this lead out, but first we're going to have to get this section off. And if you remember back to the 65, we had these defect quarters that we ordered that wouldn't fit the car because the front half of them were stamped wrong. The rear half of it's fine, so I think I want to take and use that quarter panel as a repair panel for this rear half of this quarter. That will probably save me a lot of time having to clean this up and, a little bit of metal work and, some rust patches. This is a Ford panel out of another car, but it is very, very rough. So, if you're new and you don't know anything about brass and bronze brazing, this stuff is very soft, guys. It holds, but you can literally cut through it with just this little scraper. And I'm not hitting this stuff hard, it's just really not held on all that well. And while I could cut it off, I thought it might be kind of fun just to remove it how they installed it, and that way I can show you how things have progressed since then. Now, there's some fly-by-night body shops that still do work like this, so be careful, guys. So, literally, I went here this morning, and I started cutting spot welds, and then I seen they were brazing spots, so I just went with a little scraper and a body hammer and just knocked them off. So, let's see if we can get this thing off here. As you've seen, that come off pretty easy. There was a couple of actual welds on it, one at the bottom of the wheel well and one at the trunk jam. Everything else was brazed or not attached. So let me flip it around. I'll show you what I found. I'll show you the quarter that I took off, and we'll have to go from there. So we now have a look at the inner wheelhouse, which we knew had damage. It's got this hole punched through. It's got a dent in it here, cut through where they cut the quarter panel off of it before. And some damage, and why you never overlap a panel. You can see the rust that was between this panel right here. So there was actually one weld in here. You see one of the old braze spots there. It had one here, and it had one down in here. But you can see how overlapping that metal had created a trapped place for all this stuff to sit. So that's what the inside of that quarter panel we took off looks like. And this is what the rest of the quarter panel that's left on the car looks like. So knowing our quarter panel patch over is screwed up in this front half, meaning it's stamped wrong up in here. I'm hoping, and ignore these down here, I'm hoping I can take this quarter and cut it straight down through here and section the new one on to here. But first, we gotta get all this cleaned up because, yeah, that looks bad and rusty. And the bad thing is, it looks bad, but it's actually still really, really solid. So let me figure out where I'm gonna cut this quarter. And obviously we're gonna have to take the factory portion of the quarter off, because if I'm gonna put it in and patch section this quarter, I'm going to attach it through here as factory and attach it through here as factory. And for the record, guys, this is how projects get out of hand. Sometimes just turn your eye and, you know, cover your eyes up and look the other way on stuff. But I figured I had that other partial quarter, and they wanted it destroyed anyway, and so we'll destroy it by cutting it up and using the good part of it. Sounds like a feasible plan to me. So I gotta figure out where I'm cutting this thing. And when I do, I'll be back and I'll show you how to extract factory seams the right way. And I think to get rid of 90% of our bad, we'll have to go straight down right there. And I know a lot of you screaming, just put a whole quarter in it. Well, guys, this is a budget project. That thing was a big raging pile of doo-doo. It was supposed to be destroyed. At this point, it don't cost me nothing. This was on the verge of just getting cut back a little bit, welded back together, and shoved back together. So we're going to cut it right here. And we're going to section this quarter in here. And the reason why I decided to do it right here, we can access the back side of it. So we can address any kind of seam back there and make sure it is properly coated. And it'll also give me full access to this wheelhouse doing this way. So let me cut this thing straight up through here. I'm going to cut it around the wheel well. I'm going to leave the flange. I'll remove it here in just a little while, but let's get this thing cut. Seen something else I don't like. Apparently, not only has this quarter been sectioned, but the whole thing has actually been replaced and overlapped. So let me flip around and I'll show it to you. All right. So we're a good 6 inches ahead of, where it was scabbed together. See the top of it move right there? You can see it's over top of the old factory quarter panel right there. I got concerned when I pulled this piece off and it was red oxide behind it, because from the factory, they're not red oxide behind them. Actually, a combination of bare metal and whatever the factory paint color looks like. Generally, they look like this. And it's loose down here. So, knowing that the front half of that quarter panel is screwed over there, I need to try to extract this without any damage. And then use this to fix whatever's going on with that one. This just got fun and exciting. And the possibility of getting real expensive real fast. Yep, because it's not in the budget to put a full quarter panel in this thing. And if I can't make that old hacked up, stamped wrong good mark one work, that the bottom flange is literally stamped crooked on, I'm going to have to figure it out. The easy fix would have been to section it just like I was showing you guys. But seeing that it's had a quarter panel put in it, all the way up, and it's not attached at the bottom, it's only attached to the door jamb flange. I think I need to clean this door jamb flange up and see if it is brazed. If it's brazed, it'll be easy to get off. If they actually welded it, depending on how they welded it, it might be pretty fun to get off. But let me get to it. And this car must have some kind of big secret that we don't know, because it apparently has been hit twice in this quarter panel, because why else would you section a new quarter the way they sectioned it? Unanswered questions, right? We're not that good off without destroying it. And as I suspected, this is a Ford replacement quarter panel. Ford service parts in the 60s and 70s, guys, were red oxide on the backside. This is not a factory panel. And removed. Lucky for me, this was done long enough ago that they used bronze. They brazed it on. So, come off pretty easily. And I can see all the nastiness that was hidden beneath, including the pieces of the original quarter panel that are just hanging out. So I think our next thing I need to do is get this wire brushed off and get something on it to start treating it in here. I got some new stuff I want to try. I want to try it. I'll probably just wire brush a small section, spray it, and we'll check on it tomorrow. This wheelhouse is in a lot worse shape than what I thought it was. Good candidate to try this stuff. I grabbed this stuff at the Harbor Freight. It was on clearance. Never used it. It was cheap enough that I figured I might take a chance and see what it does. So, looks like it removed loose flaky scale, so that's what I done with the wire brush. And I cleaned it with some brake cleaner, so that's degreasing it. Use solvent, yep, done that, but I'll dry, protect from overspray. I don't think anything but overspray is going to help this. So, let's see what this stuff does. I'm kind of skeptical always about steps in a spray can until I use it. Allow to sit 24 hours. It sprays on clear. It smells funny and weird, so that always means it works good, right? Let's spray it on some stuff up here that don't have nothing on it. I've not wire brushed or prepped. We'll just see what it does when I come back tomorrow. It sure ain't gonna hurt anything, I don't guess. That'll be a pretty liberal coating, this stuff. Well, it's the next day, guys, and I'm here at the shop. Some parts come in from Kentucky Mustang. So make sure you check them out, guys. They did send us a discount code, and I'll drop it right here, and it'll also be down in the description along with their website. So we sprayed that Harbor Freight rust converter on this wheelhouse. What did it do? What does it look like? Let's flip it around and show you. Well, it looks like it done a pretty decent job. It's definitely not paint, but this wheelhouse is in pretty bad shape. We're going to do something with that, I do believe. I hate to put a new one in it because, you know, we may have to do some beating and cutting, and I don't want to beat and cut on a new one, but this one's got some pretty bad rot in some areas, and the bottom half of it down here has some collision damage and rot. Probably just need to put one in it. Anyway, regardless of what we do, we probably need to fix that. But we do need to get the rest of the factory quarter panel off. And this will be helpful to some of you. There is lead here. Some of you may be wondering how you get lead out. Well, you're going to have to take a torch. You're going to have to burn this out. I don't suggest grinding it out. I don't suggest wire brushing it out. The easiest and safest way to remove old lead is to burn it out. So let's get to that. And after you get the lead out, guys, you're going to need to find every spot weld. Sometimes it's easier just to take a paint marker and mark these things. Not every car is going to be the same. There is no pattern to this. And there may be some welds that are actually on the edge. So this is about what we end up with. It's a pretty representative image of what needs to be done. And we got Daisy down there on the floor too, doing her cat inspections. So let me get these drilled out. Later in a little cleanup, I got the quarter panel flange extracted, guys. You have to drill all the way through because it's spot welded all the way through to this panel too. And then you got another bracket here that overlaps this. So once you get them all drilled out, you're going to want to take something like this and go up from the bottom to break these seams loose. And when you do, this will just pour right out. So, as you can see, I got quite a bit of rusty stuff to treat and take care of again. Unfortunately, this car is a little worse off than I thought it was as far as rust goes. Yeah. And now you guys see why I'm building a race car. So, the goal here is to kind of put this stuff on a pause, you know what I mean? A slow decomposing, so to say. Because the only way to really treat stuff like this right, especially with all these inner braces and stuff in these cars, guys, is to have them acid dipped. But then you also need it to be dipped in some kind of rust proofing primer of some sort. Unfortunately, there's nowhere around me here close to that, nor can I afford to have that done. So we're going to have to just kind of deal with this stuff best we can and try to make it last as long as we can. Like I said, this is part of the reason why I made it a race car. I'm building a race car, and I'm cutting things up, and I'm doing things like I'm supposed to. Well, maybe not like I'm supposed to, but you know, just doing the thing. Unfortunately, cars like the 65, if we were next to it, and probably most of your cars watching. The inside braces, guys, there's nothing you can do about it other than having the whole car dipped when you restore it. And then dipped in some kind of rust proofing primer or, you know, some kind of zinc rich stuff. And that'll slow it down. Unfortunately, these cars didn't go through that such process when they were new, so you don't have any kind of protection on a lot of the inner braces, and a lot of them are bare metal, guys. They just got the paint overspray. So I'm going to take some of that rust converter I bought at Harbor Freight. I'm going to spray this stuff again after I've ground it and wire brushed it again, and see if it won't kind of do the thing, and then we'll get to test fitting this quarter panel. I got this horrible fitting panel mocked up again, just like I did on 65, and it don't fit no better on this one. This quarter panel is all the way back, far as it'll go. You see, there's a big old gap there. Won't go back no further here, and if it does, you're gonna have a big old nasty place to try to weld up right here. Our forward quarter panel, this replacement forward quarter panel, actually goes back up in there. The seam down there is all crooked, and I know you can't see it on camera, but it is. It don't fit the front of the wheelhouse, as seen. Not even if you pull it up. The only place it starts contacting the wheelhouse is right in here. And it sits up against it all the way back through here. So if you move this quarter panel back any further, it's back further than the factory one. So quite the mess. And while I chose to do it on this one, because at least we got a good front half, the forward section. You know, this service replacement quarter panel that was put on this car sometime, I guess, in the 70s or 80s. Probably the 70s, considering they had a little rust up in the front of the wheel well. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this new quarter panel. I'm going to cut the front off of it. Just like I cut the front off the other. And we're going to section it together like they did before, but we're going to do a better job when we do it. So, the first thing I need to do is figure out my cut line on this quarter panel, and that's going to be difficult enough. I'm just going to have to kind of hold this other one up into place and, you know, work it up a little at a time. And then I'm going to have to get the rear half of the quarter panel in exactly where it goes, 100% clamped in and screwed in. And then we can trim away as we need on each side. At that point, once the front's off the new one, we should be able to stick the old front up there and screw it down where it's flush, like it's supposed to be. And be able to make a cut line that we can cut and make a nice clean cut all the way through both panels. And then we can just butt weld them together. Cut's done, I can finally show everybody how this good mark. I didn't buy this from Kentucky Mustang. I bought this somewhere else, and I bought it for 65, not my 66. But I can finally show everybody how this thing fits. This is on the bottom, pushed up to the flange. See the problem? The thing is stamped at least 3/4 of an inch too tall, where it's stamped wrong down there. And when you try to fit it up in the car, that puts it all in a bind, and you can't get nothing to line up. So our other problem, you seen how far I cut that quarter panel up? Right there is about where our edge of our roof's at. You can see there's still about an inch there. This won't even come out far enough because it's stamped wrong to go past your roof rail molding. That quarter panel should sit in between your roof rail molding and this panel right here and your roof. It should all intersect right there. Kind of like this right here. As I pull out on it hard. But if you pull out on it down there, it don't fit down here. So, guys, if you get a panel and it don't fit and you can't figure out why, don't start cutting your car. Discard that panel and get you another one. Because I can tell you, the cheap Taiwan quarter panels that were on this car, even though they fit horrendously, fit 1,000 times better than that expensive Goodmark panel. Hopefully that'll save somebody some trouble, guys. Sometimes spending more money isn't always an answer. Now, I will say this about the Goodmark panel. It is good thick steel. This stuff will make good patch panels for other stuff, other rusty spots. But as a whole, the panel's a piece of garbage. So, like I said, fortunately, the front half of this quarter has been replaced with a Ford service unit, which is a quarter panel you know will fit. So, now that I got my cut made, I can get our Ford quarter panel mocked back up. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a couple of screws in the face of it up here just to hold it back. And then we can bring our Goodmark rear half of our quarter in, and we can try to get us a better cut line. Got our quarter panels lined up. I got our front half over here screwed down. We know this plane fit and it lined up with the door great. I know that the rear half of this quarter fit okay. So what I've done, I've clipped it around the wheelhouse in 3 areas. One at the back, one at the top, one in the front. And I also got it clamped up in our trunk jamb here. And what I done, I measured from our panel here to the edge. Measured over there from our panel to the edge. And I cross measured from the roof to the roof. This quarter panel is in the car square. So you're probably wondering how I'm going to get my cut line. Well, as you can see, it's pretty close right here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take this cutoff wheel and I'm going to cut on the black part of the panel all the way through, all the way up. And these quarters should pop together at that point. So I got our cut line up made. I got our quarter cleaned up on both sides with a flat disc. And what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to start up here at the top. You get this and this addressed. But you got to be super careful with the heat doing it this way. This is a big flat panel and it will warp easy. So this is literally going to take a long time to get this quarter fully welded together. But I'm just going to spot it every inch or so and let it cool down as I go. And then I'll come back and we'll go from there. have a one-piece quarter panel again. There is a little bit of warpage in this area right here. I'm gonna have to try to dolly some out, but it's not too bad, guys. From here up, we're about perfect. Just the light coat filler will coat us probably all the way down. When I say there's some warpage, I mean it's minimal. So I need to pull this quarter panel back off. I need to clean up the backside, get something sprayed on it. I need to fold this bottom lip over at the front of the wheel arch and figure out what we're doing with that wheelhouse, because now we have a quarter panel that can actually go in the car. Choices and decisions, guys. Choices and decisions. Like I said, we're building a race car. The point is, how far do you go? And this is a budget deal, which is probably a good time to remind everybody that 100% of anything that is made off the Save the Classics t-shirts goes straight into this 66 project. So if you want to help me out with the project, that's one way you can do it. Just buy you a t-shirt or hat or something like that. All that stuff kind of goes directly towards me. There's not a whole lot of profit there in the cost. Very, very small in hindsight of things, but it does help. So I'm going to get this quarter panel pulled back off here, get a couple of these little edges addressed that I couldn't address on the car. And then when I get back to that point where we have 100% ready to put back on quarter panel, I'll be back. Well, guys, I don't know if you can see me or not, but I can see myself on the screen. I don't know what it looks like, other than a normal shade of ugly. But I just dropped my phone off the roof of the car and it exploded and the screen's all screwed up. So hopefully I can salvage this video. Unfortunately, I gotta go spend a big bunch of money to get another phone. So let me flip it around and hopefully the camera on the front side still works, and I can show you where I'm at, and then I'll be back, guys. I went in here, I epoxy sprayed all this stuff with aerosol epoxy. I decided to just kind of ignore some of these bad places in this wheelhouse since we're building a race car. I know a lot of you will frown upon that. I frown upon it myself. But after seeing how much crustiness is in the structure of the car, guys, this is probably going to be its last two raw anyway. So, got that all epoxied. I got our quarter straightened up. I dollied it all out and I ground off the backside. I epoxy painted the back of the quarter all the way up until, you know, where you can't reach it up in here. And that should be fine. I come in here, ground off all my stuff, and weld through primer the edges, except for up here. And I'll just drill through that new quarter so I can weld it to the other piece, and it should be okay. But that's it, guys. You know, sometimes everything don't have to be a show car or beautiful or done 100% right. Like I said, we're building a race car out of this thing. It will be fine. It won't hurt nothing. It'll be a long-lasting repair the way I done it. If this thing lives another 10 years, we're doing good. Especially being a race car, there's always a chance it gets wrecked and, you know, stuff like that. Smack it into a wall, tear a quarter panel off of it, you know, hit a wall with the front, tear a fender off. You just gotta go in there and fix it. So more than likely, sooner than later, we'll be back in here anyway, and then we'll put wheelhouses on it and whatever else we have to do. But for now, that's where we're at. That, and this thing is a dirt cheap budget build, so we're just trying to make it a little less bad than what it was. So guys, if you like these kind of videos, please hit that like button, share these videos with your friends. And if you're not a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button because it does help the channel to grow and it helps me bring you more videos. If you are a subscriber, I greatly appreciate you guys and I look forward to seeing everybody's comments down below. So until the next video, guys, thanks for watching and I'll see y'all at the next one.